prepare my live stream to make sure that we're recording also on YouTube. And some things, when you're recording to the cloud, some things you do not get to appear in the Zoom recording. For instance, your control panel, sometimes you don't see it when you're recording. For instance, you don't see my control panel where it says share screen. It tells me to go live. So now I can share screen, but you don't see my panel. We'll talk about it later. We may have to use another screencasting program on top of Zoom's recording just to get all the features on our screen. But I'm going to share. And you can see, you see here, Ellie, you can even see yourself. You can see it is what? It is some delay, right?
Delayed, yeah.
You can see that delay, but for some things, it's not bad. And it says one is watching now, started streaming. So I don't even know who's watching us. And this is a great, we're almost like rehearsed this, Ellie. It was so good that we almost, is as if we rehearsed it about what are all the issues. But what we were talking about before was one was the issue of difference between free Zoom and paid, free versus paid. That's great. I would put that in your next video. And you can even realize, you can even have portions of it saying these are the issues we had. And now when we did the paid versions, you can even go through the paid versions and have somebody record. You can have another member record it. And another thing is, from my notes, is what I saw that people were doing is they were talking about it, but they weren't sharing your screen when you demonstrate the features. Create the task. For instance, they talk about how do you do a poll, but I want you to create a poll. I want you to take a poll. And I want you, for instance, who can take in your group, who can take a poll and who can create the poll. For instance, Ellie, if you created the poll and you're the host, can you take the poll? Find out. You understand? Because you may be, in a way, having those. So actually do it. When you promote one or two team members as co-hosts, actually promote them or demote them. Actually do that and see what happens. When you promote somebody as a co-host, can they take a poll? So make them not a co-host and see if they can take the poll.
Dr. Rush,
yes.
sorry. Were we supposed to do that for the individual assignment as well? Were we supposed to show our screen for that as well?
Yeah, what were you showing on your individual assignment? You want to show, you want to take every assignment that you did. Who asked that? Logan? You want to be, that you can give your video to someone and they can learn exactly what they need to do. So maybe you can even think about this first round was like a trial. You know, it's like your first time. Okay, I got myself wet. Now at least I know, in theory, I know what role I need to play. I know how to at least do it. And now I can redo it. So we'll talk about that, but for everyone needs to do an individual assignment and everyone needs to be participating in the group and not having just your name on it, Ellie, is everybody has to be participating, showing what they do, even talking about these are the issues I had. This is how I'm going to be taking the poll. I'll be promoting. Everybody has to be active and showing their expertise and even discussing how we found what the problems are and what the solutions are as well. And we have all the other items. We can go to ChatGPT. We can go search on Zoom. How do you promote how do you do remote one-on-one. You could find it, but if you didn't have the right version, Ellie, you can find all the instructions you want, but if you don't have the right version, it ain't going to work. You agree with me? Just that beauty right there. So we always want, when I talk about it, it's almost like that agile development. You remember trying it one time and then going back and keep on like continuous improvement. So what I want to do, so you can see I'm on YouTube, what's good is the other thing that you want to talk about, and I'm using you, Ellie, is it's almost like as if we rehearse this, right? And like we're a team here, Ellie. So the other idea is not only did I want to do it in Zoom, is why use YouTube Live, right? In addition to Zoom. And in order to use YouTube Live, I need you to Zoom, and I'm going to put in parentheses, I'm making it assuming that it's the paid Zoom, because going YouTube Live is only with paid Zoom for right now. They could change it later. So that's the question. And Alex, Chase, what do you think for this question?
I think if you need to get it out to like a really big group of people, then YouTube's good for that. And if you don't have like a lot of people that are supposed to be participating but just watching, then YouTube's good for that too.
Right. And also YouTube is that you can shut down the comment section. You know how it has comments? Maybe you don't want to affect your brand and just have people just saying nonsense, or downers or just haters or whatever you want to call them, you can shut that off. But the idea is authentication. When I'm in Zoom, we have to be authenticated. Not everybody can come into our session. Is that correct, Alex Chase, right? Alex, not everybody can come in. When I do YouTube Live, if I make it public, now I can make it private, and sometimes I may want to do it for my salespeople, right? Or for my vendors. I say, come, you want to see what I want to have the guest speakers, maybe they just want to see it on YouTube Live, my sessions, and not be part of my Zoom class. But they say, hey, I want to see, what are these students? Can I sell these students or can I show these students my new products or something like that? Can they be my focus group? They can do that. So why use YouTube Live is authentication on Zoom, but what? Non-authentication on YouTube. And they don't even have to subscribe. They could be and this is another thing, Ellie, is when you do your Zoom, and people do that now, when you go public, YouTube public, have others subscribe to each other. And then when one person goes live, you should get, Ellie, if another person, let's say I go live and you subscribed, right? Or I subscribe to you. When you go live, I'll get like an email or something saying Ellie's live. So, wow, I'm going on. Or I can even search for you on live events. So people can get to you in many different ways. You can be on feeds and so forth. You also could possibly then, some ways one way is not the issue for everyone. You could also do YouTube Live where you just give it unlisted or you give it private. I'll just give out the link. I don't want the whole world to see it. We may be discussing some important confidential new product. I don't want the whole world to hear about it. I want to make it patent. I don't want the whole world to have it. But some things I just want to be generic. Why not have the world do it? I may have a way in which, for instance, Alex, that let's say we're in education, I may give certain know inside and out of Zoom for AI, right? And we could say tips and tricks. We give a certificate on it or a certificate on Gen AI or something. We charge here in the Zoom class, you get a certificate from an educational organization. And on YouTube, we make it free. So you can watch it, but you're not going to get a certificate. You cannot ask questions. You can put questions maybe in the chat bot and we'll have somebody moderate it, but you won't have an active place. You won't have a way in which you can share your screen like everybody here can share. So you can make it almost like the YouTube can be, you know, like how you have different versions. This is like the platinum version. That's like the free version. So you can distinguish this is the VIP section, right? Free drinks for everyone, open bar, right? And there, buy your own drinks. You know what I mean? So you can say, or we'll do after parties here. And then, you know, for Zoom, we don't give you the address. VIP. So you can think about, that's what I want you to look at. So when my goal is now you'll see it, keep what you have. And also, let me just add this one more, is add date and time and name in your file name. So you know when it was submitted. So the first version we submitted, you know you'll get credit that at least I submitted it. Now I got stuck. Now I'm going to make it bigger and better. Okay, questions. So let's talk about what kind of some housekeeping chores, and then we'll get into some others. And let's see here. This is my content. I'm in J, which is good. Let's go to what's due. Okay. So we know what's due here was the parts 1 and parts 2. For this assignment, I'm going to extend it till Monday. And I want you to go back to it. We'll look at it near the end of the class where I'll give you some more suggestions. Go back, and this will be due on Monday before class. It's due. Anything that I assign will be due right before class is due. This tech guide and hardware is already due. But this part I'm extending to Monday. And next Wednesday, on the 11th, I'm going to go after Tech Guide 1 of the hardware. I'm going to Tech Guide 2 of the software. So let me do that. So you see there, the Wiley Reading and Adaptive. You have the software there. You have the assignment. This is for, I'm going to open it. Of course, I get a different view. And I see the due date. Let me make sure it's the right date. It's September 11th at 5:05 p.m. Everybody see that? That's in this one. Let me make sure that the other one is due as well. And that is the Wiley quizzes. And let me turn this on so I can get that. So you can see. So I have the Wiley quizzes. I need to edit the test options. Everybody knows what I need to do. Open the test. And now I have to make it available. I'll make a new announcement. And in this case, Alex, should I keep it at 2 or 1 attempt?
Keep it at 2, please.
Yeah, I'll keep it at 2 because it's just practice, right? And once we have it and it's open-ended, but it makes sense that if you take it the second time, only makes sense that that last graded attempt, it's open book, you can do that, blah, blah, blah. Let's just make sure that the submission date, the due date. You see that I need to make it the due date, and we know the 11th, and we know that it should be 5. Let's do a 5. We'll just make it 5 o'clock. This way you know it's done. Okay, and we're going to include it in the test center, and we'll submit. Make sure you submit. Some of you tried to do something. You see my screen, and it says submit. Make sure it says submit. Right, and then I needed to make sure that it submits at the right time. Okay, we're finished with this. We got the what's due, we got the Wiley, and then you have PowerPoint. Notice on the PowerPoint, you have under the PowerPoints, you have the chapters. So for instance, you should download today, you should download chapter 1 of the hardware. And you know, if you go to the readings, right, and I go to hardware, right, if I go to the introduction, let's see if this works. There's some issues with Wiley. See, it doesn't, the page doesn't exist. Let's see if this will work for me. Right, you have the introduction to the hardware. You see in this case, you have hardware, and this is what you need to do. Hardware we're going to cover, and you should know it in, and also the whys. What is the central processing unit? What, who cares? A lot of these things I want you to ask yourself, who cares? Why is that important for business? Why is it important for me creating a business? Why is it important? Manipulates the data and controls task performed. Sort of like the brains of the computer. Primary storage, we need to know the difference between primary storage and secondary storage. These are used in different terms. Primary storage, another term for primary storage is memory. Sometimes they call it random access memory. Secondary storage, you know what it is in secondary storage, and that is like your hard drive. Everybody in the class now, and you have all access right to the internet if you're able to see me, is find out, and you can Google it, you can do any AI, is on your computer. And in this case, Damien, what type of computer do you have right now in front of you? What type of computer? Nathan,
CPU.
What?
A CPU.
Yeah, but what type of computer? Is it a Mac? Is it a...
Oh, I have a Mac.
You have a Mac. What kind of Mac? There's a lot of Mac.
It's a Dell.
It's a Dell or a Mac? You have a Dell.
Yeah.
What brand?
It's Dell.
Okay, you have a Dell computer. Okay, so basically, I want you and everyone else is to Google to find out how much primary storage or RAM, RAM you have, and how much secondary storage or the hard drive. How big are they? Everybody do that now while I'm talking about this. And the input technologies, accept the data, convert it, and understand it, output, and communication technologies. And then from your understanding, see how this is I asked Daniel, our TA, to check what the heck is going on. A lot of you were having it. It's some Wiley glitch. You see this? We're not responsible. Guess where this is being served from? From their server, from their software. Every Saturday, I want to check my understanding, and it just puts me in a loop here. Do you see how many of these things? It's irritating that they have that. So along with it, they let me just turn that off for a second. They have it that you can even see here that I have something called the CPU, where they talk about, let me just put here, central processing unit. They talk about my central processing unit as crunching my numbers. It's a lot of time called the microprocessor. Intel has it, Intel i7, Mac has it, what kind of microprocessor, and then they give me parts of my computer that they have here. I also have in PowerPoint, let me just show you here, we're in the learning objectives, is they talk about what are strategic hardware issues, what's my computer hierarchy, my input and output, and my central processing unit. So basically, they talk about hardware as my central processing unit, and they give it the acronym CPU. That's kind of like the brains of the computer. There's also something called the GPU. And if I think about the GPU, Nathan, have you ever played any games on the computer? Nathan, I don't hear you. Did you ever do any computer gaming? Nathan, do I hear you? Somehow I
His
don't hear.
AirPods probably aren't connected to the audio. That's happened to me before.
We want to help each other. These are the, and that's why we want to give extra credit for people to help, right? You almost, now he has to figure out how to get my iPhone. See, now he's putting it back in. Has that helped us? Yeah. Or it's either
I
being
think
a
you can do it in the Zoom settings or your computer settings through the Bluetooth. I don't remember how I fixed it.
Yeah. We'll see. If not, we'll get back to him. Nathan, can we hear you? Say something. 1, 2, 3. Can we hear you?
1, 2, 3.
Good. All right. So Nathan, have you ever
Okay.
done any computer gaming before? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of that, are graphics important in computer gaming? Of course they
Yeah,
are.
they're very, very
Yeah,
important.
and the older games were not as good as the newer games based on what? Graphics, right? And they had to be more realistic. So what it ended up happening is as part of that brains is taking off basically the recording and say, let's have a separate part of another processing unit called a GPU, graphics one, to then offload from the CPU and make it through the GPU. Now, in terms of artificial intelligence, what they're trying to do is on the chip itself, on the CPU itself, they're trying to put in AI. There's now AI machines that they're selling, saying instead of going on the internet, I could use AI to generate. And based on that, it's either part of a GPU or what they call it NPU. NPU, then the N stands for neural processing. Same idea is now I'm going to be doing lots of data and then processing it. They talk about something called primary storage, and primary storage is many times you'll hear the word RAM for memory. Sometimes it's being called random access memory. Sometimes it's also just be called my main memory. I'm just taking this from the PowerPoints. You can take it from the PowerPoints and just add on to it. My main memory or my access memory, my primary storage stores the data temporarily. My random access memory, many times they call it RAM. I'm going to use the word RAM. They call it volatile. And volatile means not stable. It means that if I lose power, shut it off, and I don't save my work, I've lost data. in RAM, in memory. So it's important always to save it on some other device. Save it to the cloud, save it on the hard drive. So what I want everybody to do is find how much memory, random access memory you have on your machine and how much secondary storage you did. So Yarden, did you, am I pronouncing your name right? Yarden.
You could call me Jordan, but yeah,
Jordan. Okay. What would you prefer?
Jordan's fine.
Okay. Jordan's fine. So Jordan, did you find out how much RAM and secondary storage? Sometimes secondary storage is called a hard drive. What computer do you have in front of you? What brand type?
I'm actually on an iPad.
You have an iPad. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Okay. So we got to figure out how much RAM you have or how much memory you have and how much hard drive you found. So Noah, did you check it out on your machine? What kind of computer do you have, Noah?
I have a Windows, but I
You have
haven't.
Okay. So on that machine, how much hard drive space do you have and how much RAM do you have? Did you find out?
No, but I can look right now.
Yeah, right. Well, look right now. That's what I want everybody to do is not till I call, right? Gabrielle, you want to look now. You want to try to figure out now. Everybody figure out now yours, not somebody else's, but what you have in front of you, how much RAM you have and how much hard drive or disk space you have on your computer that's in front of you. So did you find out? Noah,
Yeah, I found it.
how much do you have?
8 gigabytes of RAM.
Okay, so he has, in this case, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and how much second hard drive space do you have?
I couldn't find that one. I don't
Okay,
see
so
it.
look for it. Drives. So even on Windows machine, how do you find out? Even Google it or with Gen AI, basically find out. How do you find out in a Windows machine how much drive space I have?
I have 118. I just looked.
Okay, 118 free space or what does it say exactly?
Like total.
Total, 118 gigabyte
Yeah.
total. Okay. So what's the difference and who cares? And what did you find then, Nicole? What kind of computer do you have?
I have a Mac and I have 8 gigabytes.
Okay, and how much storage do you have? How much hard drive do you have?
I'm checking the hard drive right now.
Yeah, perfect. Everybody should have this already at their tips. Jason, what do you got?
I have 32 gigabytes
Okay,
and
so he has 32 gigabytes.
a 12 core CPU.
Okay, 12 core CPU, and how much hard drive space do you have?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, none of us are sure, so you got to go find out, right? Something that we find in our sleep, so find out. Okay. And Bianca, what about you?
I have a MacBook Air with 32 gigabytes.
And how much hard drive space? Because that's important, because a lot of times you want to save something on your computer. When you save something on your computer, you don't save it in RAM, you save it on your hard drive, your secondary spot. What did you find, Parker?
I have 16.
Okay, you have 16 gig, and how much hard drive?
I'm trying to figure that out now too.
Yeah,
I can't
see?
remember where it is.
What about it? So everybody figure out, so you can even Google it. What kind of machine do you have? What kind of computer do you have? What's the brand name?
I have a MacBook Pro.
Okay, MacBook Pro. So even Google, how do I find out how much drive space I have? Hard drive space do I have on a MacBook Pro? How do I find that? Ask Google, ask ChatGPT, ask somebody. Alexandria, what did you find?
I think I have 16 gigabytes of
Okay,
RAM, and
RAM,
then I think the hard drive is like 1 terabyte. I don't know though.
1 terabyte. That sounds good. That sounds reasonable. Okay, perfect. So 1 terabyte, that's TB hard drive. So in general, stay with me, Alexandria. So in general, what conclusion can we make? Is RAM usually bigger or my hard drive? Is my primary storage larger or my secondary storage larger?
Primary?
You just told me your RAM was what did you say, 16 gig? But you told me your hard drive is 1 terabyte, right? That's
Okay, yeah, and then the other one.
And then the other one, so I want you to articulate the other one. What's the other one? We're not just going to say the other one. What is it? One is called primary and one's called secondary.
Oh yeah, my secondary.
Yeah, let's speak the lingo, right? The lingo is, and who cares? Why is RAM is more expensive? You can just think of it. Primary storage in general is more expensive than secondary storage per byte. But the idea is primary storage is faster than secondary storage. Primary storage, basically, when we're going to think about it, primary storage is where all the processing gets taken up. So if I look at this, let me just go to this in a second. I think this is going to be. If I look at this, you see in this diagram here, this is my CPU. And you see right here in this case, Ava, I have primary storage main memory. RAM is part of that main memory. And secondary storage is, put that in your notes, is a hard drive. So if I looked at this right here, I would know at this point, this is going to be a hard drive. This is going to be main memory. And when I process, basically, let's say I had PowerPoint, right? I had my PowerPoint slides. I downloaded it into it was originally in my secondary storage, my PowerPoint. And then what did it do? When I clicked on my PowerPoint, it brought that file of TG01, it brought it into my primary storage. So if I add additional words here to my PowerPoint and I shut down my computer, it is now in RAM. I said it was volatile. I'll lose the changes. Sometimes the way the software is, if I make changes, I'll always say, keep on saving as I go along. But if the system hasn't saved as I go along, I'll lose it. But secondary storage is where it has long-term effects. Secondary storage goes bad sometimes, but it is more in the future use. I can use it in the future use. So this is the difference between main storage and secondary storage. And you can see that the other part of my processing, where it gets to be computed, is in the microprocessors, where I have my control unit, I have my arithmetic logic that does my arithmetic, and these registers are a small portion of memory that is just for quick little calculations. Small amounts are stored there. So you can see here that it's in primary storage. It goes to the control unit. Those are my instructions. The instructions of what the computer's what the program's supposed to do goes into my arithmetic or my arithmetic logic. What is greater? What is, if I have to do some forecasting, it gets done there. Then it gets stored in my primary memory. and then I'll save it later in my work. So basically, what it is these chips, and it's called a CPU, and then later on it's going to be a GPU and an NPU. All of these processors are advancing, and there's something called Moore's Law, which it will then double in 24 months. Now it's basically even a shorter period of time. And then they are really concentrating. Anybody hear of NVIDIA that has gone up so high in the stock market lately? It's gone down so much. The whole hoopla of NVIDIA is they're creating chipsets for AI. And that's what the world was getting so excited that the world's going to be in AI. So we get it to be exciting there. So the idea of computer memory is that we now know what our memory capacity is. When somebody says, a lot of times when they say memory, they kind of confuse secondary storage, which we know is basically my external. I'll call it even external. It is going to be like my hard drive. It could be even in the cloud. It could be my memory sticks, all those types of things. And this memory primary is where processing takes place. When I'm in right now, all of this resides when I'm making adjustments, when I'm making additional comments here in my PowerPoint, it is now in primary storage. And primary storage then, when we think about it, is broken down into, they say, really zeros and ones. The smallest part of it, it's like, and then this will change when we do quantum computing. It's really not zeros and ones, but for right now, in our way, it's zeros and ones. A byte is a character. So for Ava, the letter A is a byte. So in your name, Ava, you have 3 bytes in your first name, right? And in your last name, you have 5 bytes. And then you have kilobytes, which were about like 1,000. It's a way to describe how many megabytes. Remember, a lot of you are telling me how many megabytes you have, how many gigabytes you have. And then what do we have? Somebody said, well, my hard drive is a terabyte. It's larger than gigabytes. And then, of course, it's petabytes, exabytes. It's basically, the idea is people need to store so much data, and especially now, data for artificial intelligence, the idea of voice recognition, the idea of face recognition, that's all done with what? More and more heavy-duty memory, more and more graphics processing in the way that I can identify. It's also a little bit scary, right? Because I can get all those fakes. People can imitate my voice. They can imitate my image. We can see that all the time. And then we talked about the whole idea of computer memory. You remember, computer memory is primary storage. Many times people say that's my main memory. They don't use the word primary memory, they'll use main memory. And my main memory, or my main primary storage, is divided up into my registers, which I talk about my registers being just that a small amount of memory that I'll need that quick calculation. Cache memory, a lot of times you know it, it remains a little bit longer. Have you ever like done in Google and you start typing and you'll see the word appear? That's stored already in cache memory. And we talked about RAM, which we talked about as being volatile. Everything that I'm adding here in this slide is being stored in RAM. That's where all my processing is. If I'm using PowerPoint, PowerPoint is now loaded into RAM. It's loaded into random access memory. When I exit PowerPoint, sometimes it will say, are you sure you don't want to save? Have you ever seen that? Or save as? The reason to save or save as is because it knows it's going to get rid of it. Volatile means it will be removed. Temporary. That's random access memory. And read-only memory is a portion of the main memory, a small portion that remains non-volatile. And that small portion, because when I turn on my computer, there's instructions that have to be in my computer memory, in my primary storage for it to work. And it's almost like instructions from the manufacturer. They install it, and when they install at the manufacturing division, it gets stored in my read-only memory. It remains. So, but the most of my primary storage is in RAM. What do I want? A lot of times I want to maximize the RAM when I'm doing fast calculations. If I'm a finance major and I do a lot of forecasting, I do a lot of predictions, I want to have the most RAM available. And of course, I want to have the most advanced processors usually. And sometimes just using my laptop will not be powerful enough. I'll have to go to the cloud and they will have more substantial computers with much more memory, and they may even combine a number of computers together and make it a cluster to do it not only faster, but more. And secondary memory is my solid drives. It's going to be my thumb drives. It can be my basically areas in which I can store it. Okay. So Ava, did that help going over that area between memory, primary, and secondary?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So you should have finished this. And these are going to be, people are asking, what are the types of questions? The type of questions will be that. You know, what are the types of questions that you've had on the quizzes? The difference between primary and secondary, right? What is volatile, what is not? Okay. All right, so the next thing is I want to share my screen. I'm going to close my power, and look what it says. Did you see what it says right there? Amelie, save your changes to this file. Why? Avoid losing changes to this file in the future. Why? So it says that it can save it with a folder backed up to the cloud instead, right? Because where's it right now? It's in what? My main memory, Amelie, right? So it's in my main memory right now. It's kind of warning me, yeah, I want to choose the location. I don't want it to cloud. I want it somewhere. And then it says, hey, I can choose the OneDrive, right? I don't want to save, right? It's giving me a choice because it knows that if I just change, if I don't save, it's not saving because my RAM then will eliminate it. Okay, so I can say this. I can now just even minimize it if I want, and I can go through it. So let's do this. Let's stop sharing for a moment. Questions before I continue about the assignments and going over what people did for their Zoom individual and group. Any comments that I need in Amelie? Are you looking also in the chat? Can you see if there are any questions?
Yes. There's nothing. It's all good.
Right. Just because there's nothing, hopefully it's all good. Okay, so now let me go to my share screen. You're all with me, bright and cheerful. I'm going to go back. This was my J. We know what my assignments are. And now if I go to my J audit and I look at my groups, basically I have my trainees that have their part. I have my group 1, right? Now on my group 1 assignment, and I have individual assignment. So I'm just going to my group 1. I have here attach file, how to create it through discussions. And I would go back on the individual ones, people, then the individuals, and look at it and say, can I improve this? Can people take my individual assignment and follow it to the T? And the question is, no, can I improve it? I would do for Monday, do a second version. And in the second version, Allie did a great job. She put the date, she put the time, she put Allie, Zoom, and I would even put here Zoom YouTube Live. And she did a perfect job here. And then in this case, with Parker, I make sure that I put the time, because you can do like 2 versions. So in this case, everybody followed then perfectly. Allie, extra credit here, right? Following the instructions, and then you can do it at the MP4. And then Ava basically knows then she needs to put in the link. Sometimes people waited a while, they haven't gotten to the YouTube or whatever. So I'm just taking this as an example. And then if I go to group 1 and look at the group assignment, there's a difference here. And that question is here, I have a video, but I want, and this is, I want to make sure that everybody in your group assignment, let me make this clear. Let me put it here in Zoom collaborative group. Let me put it here. Group assignment. At least one person will stream to YouTube. And then make clear you will subscribe to each other's channel. So when somebody is streaming, you'll be able to see it. So if I look back on the Zoom group assignment, this group of Ali, Ava, and so forth, besides having this tells me that this was I'm just assuming that this was recorded to locally. If it was part of a link recorded to the cloud, I should get a Zoom link. I should also get what? A YouTube link. So I should see that you try out, and then you discuss what is the difference. Are there times when I just want to record to my computer? Yes. I want to have the actual file. I don't want to wait for Zoom to process it, even though a lot of times it's an advantage for Zoom to process it, because then they can make my transcripts separate. There's a lot of advantages to it. So you want to discuss the advantages to cloud computer and YouTube. And you want to show it. The whole idea, and where I'm looking at it, you want to show actively the features by sharing your screens as much as possible. And now you know it a bit. It's almost like rehearsals. Step 1 was a rehearsal, but I want you to keep the rehearsal tape. Think about it. And then you can see, how did I improve? When somebody takes this, can you be like the expert? You could then have, Amelie, you could be having your YouTube channel, and part of your YouTube channel is, how do you use Zoom and YouTube to promote your brand? You understand, Amelie, that it really can work, and not only talk about, but show it. Show actively the features by sharing your screen, and everyone participate. taking different roles and exchanging them. Participate and exchanging roles. People don't get credit for just showing up in this class. So if you just got to the Zoom session and you sat there all the time, you don't get the same credit as when people are actually doing it. You have problems, you have issues, show it. They'd be common for everyone. In this class, when you have challenges, I have no problem with that. It's just that you need to document it and then you need to attempt to solve it. Just saying it didn't work is not acceptable in this class. Okay. So I'm just I took them as an example. You can see that if I go to groups, you can see then if I go to group 2, where I have Dimian, Jordan, Noah, and Blanca. Is that Blanca or Bianca? I could read. Bianca. All right, just made it. And the same here is that same thing. Is this part, where's this coming from? This is yours is, everybody can see the same thing. The Zoom individual assignment, right? Dimian did the time. He had it here. He said, Zoom local recording is attached to this item. And perfect. You see how, where is he basically, Demian extra credit here. You see that, Demian? And people can learn from you. Zoom local recording is attached. He attached it. YouTube live stream he attached. Is showcase. Live stream is very simple. It's convenient if you wanted to show a meeting, blah, blah, blah. Had a difficult time finding a file afterwards, but it was able to make multiple copies. Had a difficult time. Why did you have a difficult time? But excellent. You know, he got that done. And then the same thing here is when I go back to his group with the illustrious group 2, the same thing I should then see then. What's missing is that Zoom cloud recording file is attached. So I guess you didn't use the URL. You just downloaded and uploaded again. Is that correct? Whoever did that? And then we have the people that were on board, and then what's missing here is that you want to maybe redo it so you can broadcast live. Did you live stream to YouTube? Do you have that link? Whose account did you use? If you did, you want to attach it. And as much as possible, can they appear to do it? If you have difficulty, the beauty here is that you can see what other people have done. That's why we call it the audit section. You don't want to change what people have done at this point, but you can reach out. And then when I go to my groups, with the beauty here is, the one thing is we want everybody's phone too here. So in group 1, fill that out now. Group 2, I don't even have to do that, right? Group 3, group 4, Matt, I don't have anything. I don't know if he's there, right? And the others were the phone, and make it sure that everybody has it completely filled. We're going to need this because we're going to do another exercise on forecasting where we're going to be using Microsoft's cloud, and the IT staff at the University of Miami needs all this data from us in order to use it. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'll ask for questions, comments. So I want this to be due then on Monday. I'm extending the deadline. I want you to keep what you've uploaded, but the new parts dated, and it's due then Monday before class. So at 5 o'clock. Of course, get it done earlier to do it.
Does that go for the individual's assignment as well?
Yes, for both, the individual and the group. Logan, because everybody can improve. And then there were some people that changed groups, some people that added the class, all different types of issues. Labor Day, this, that, I couldn't find my group. Some people weren't assigned till the last moment, whatever the issue is. Let me make another announcement here. And it's important. This is how the class is going to be. Meaning that every week you're going to have reading assignments, you're going to have the adaptive, the quizzes. That's not a big change. It needs to be done on time. That's it. But the other time, every week, we're going to be doing a hands-on assignment. We'll be doing it individually and we'll be doing it with a group. If you don't like a group, if you don't like individual assignments, you don't like to get your hands wet, you don't like to explore new software, you just say, hey, this is not for me, that is fine. Today, I was told, is the last day to drop without getting a W on your record. If you would like to do that, I have no problem with that, and you're welcome to do that. You know that we're having, our exams will be in person. There'll be 2 parts to that. Some will be similar to the multiple choice, you know, you're doing the quizzes, and others, as mentioned before, will be open-ended questions that we'll talk about in the previous. And there'll be questions, I can just give you an example like now, there may be questions like on our Zoom collaboration program about what would be the advantages and of having Zoom live, when can that appear, things that we were discussing, that if you did the assignments, you'll know it. And also you'll have those questions beforehand that you can formulate it in your mind. But that's how it will be. And I expect attendance, I expect class participation, and I expect that the assignments be done on time and that you document it. But it is not an excuse for me, it didn't work. That's out the window. You understand? I tried this, I had the recording, and then I reached out, just like we were talking about before, Ellie, that we were doing it, right? No problem. She's not going to get penalized for that, right? It's just that she'll redo it at the time. She'll be able to articulate, right, Ellie, that this was my problem that I had. That's it. Any questions, comments? Amelie, what do you think? Any comments that you have?
Nope, chat's clear.
Okay, and any feedback you can give the students by you going through it and you've dealt with it?
I don't think so.
Okay, I think it's pretty,
think we
and it's
covered it all.
straightforward.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm doing it, you're asking, is we're going to be continuing doing this. It's like we're going to go to other assignments, and what I'll tell you is, Amelie, go ahead and record it and put it to YouTube and talk about your issues or whatever it is, and we have a recording. And some of you may even want to look, now when you look at it, when you're trying to find that control panel on Zoom, it doesn't appear. Zoom doesn't record its own control panel, where you're looking for like share screen. So think about it. Those that want to get a step ahead, there's screen recordings that you can go on top of Zoom, so you'll get everything listed there, that it'll be able, that your end user, when they're looking at their documentation, that they can do. And then we'll look at even programs that can take your entire YouTube clip and break it down to a minute and give you, and it's auto-generated with AI, will generate titles for you. So there'll be a section 1 on Amelie on how to do stream to live to YouTube live. And it'll just take that portion rather than you cutting it. What do you have to waste your time on a 10-minute video and cutting it? Let them cut it and let them, and there's others that will then create even the text for you or put it into a blog or whatever, that you can use it again, reuse it on different parts of social media and break it down. Because sometimes people want, a minute? Just show me how to do a breakout room, or show me how to do YouTube live, or show me how even to create my my YouTube channel. I got stuck. Right, just like that. Or show me that you need to have the enterprise version. You can't use what, or even show me why I should use the enterprise version, why my company should buy the enterprise version. Because guess what? You can do all this stuff. It'll save us money. We can get in revenue just by using it. You got how this class is going? I'd love to have you all, but if this is, it's like a date, nothing against you, but it's not working out, and what do they say? You'll be better off without me. Heard that, right? Okay, so that's my little and if you don't like my sense of humor, that's okay too. Okay, I enjoy it, so that's good too. All right, anything else that I need? Okay, I'm going to share my screen. What I'm going to do, my attendance, I'll be with you. I'll stay as long as you need me. There's a song like that too, I'm sure. So I don't want to be in audit, right? I want to be in regular, that I have control. I want to go to attendance, right? I want to check in I'm in the right section. I need to say check in. I want to start check in. And then 6/2/17. When you finish checking in, you got your assignment, you know what to do. When your quizzes are, and when your assignment is. And then on Monday, we'll then go into new assignments. But we got that down. When I said record, go to YouTube Live. We all know how to do it. Create a poll, help somebody in YouTube. You got it all. Stay with me if you need me. Otherwise, we got a short week, huh? And we get back.
Thank you.
I appreciate it too. I appreciate you. And
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. And stay with me if we have issues. It's 6/2/17. Everybody have that number? 6217. And then I'm going to stop. Bianca, did you sign in?
Yeah, I just
Good. And Ava, you too? And
Yeah,
Louise?
good. I just had a question.
Okay, let me just stop sharing, okay?
Okay.
And let me stop recording. I don't need personal, it's, again,